All right, we're going to talk about some things today about AI and how it can actually help your small business in a way that is really exciting and you probably haven't thought about it. Okay. So back in 2005, I co-founded a business and it was a trade business. And my business partner he was the brains of the operation. He was an engineer and he was really the celebrity and the person that did the thing that made us a business. So if you are that type of business owner, which is a lot of people, you probably can relate to this. So we started that business and we ran that business together, and I was able to observe a lot of behavior um, in how he interacted with the team, right? Because he had all the knowledge, and we were able to really grow that business, leveraging his skills and his knowledge. And then we would bring people in, and he would train them. We typically weren't able to find somebody with his level of skill, just because he'd been an engineer for probably 12 years. And he was kind of at the top of his game, in the top of his field, when we started the business together. So it was always hard for us to find people of his skill level, right? So if you own a business where you are the technical founder, which is a lot of small businesses, right? Most of them, you know that pain, you know that suffering, and he was always in the middle of it, and I was able to be kind of a step back from it because I was operations, and as we grew, I grew the accounting department, I grew the HR department. Like him, I started out doing some of the jobs, and then it was easier for me to hire people to replace myself because I wasn't that person. I wasn't that technical founder that did the work. So this is what I saw. And then I'm going to tell you what you can do with AI. You're going to want to stick around because I do think this is super. This is great. And if I still owned that business, this is what I would be doing today with AI. So I was able to see, when he trained. So there were a couple of things. He would bring people in, and we used to have to hire people and train them. There was no other way for us to do it because we couldn't find people of that skill level. And to be honest, in the beginning, we couldn't afford them. We couldn't afford to pay. Some technicians wanted, if they were going to do management work, they wanted 100 grand, and we weren't there. So we would bring people in, we would train them, we would lean on some of the trade schools, and then we would, just try to find people that had experience. We would run into trouble because he would have to spend so much time training everybody. And then, what would happen is they would get to a level where they were really competent, and then they would get recruited. And in that type of work, unfortunately, people would leave for more money. And as we grew the company, I watched how people interacted with him. So many times people could problem solve and figure things out, but he would happen to be walking by. So they would ask him a question, and then he would mistakenly jump in and kind of do it for them or help them. There was that aspect of it, right? And then there was just the constant, not just the technical work, but then as we grew, there were other things like company policies and safety manuals and safety training and safety. We had to do safety checks, and we had people in the shop, and then we had people out in the field. So there was a certain point where I could see the cracks with him, even though we did promote, managers. It was just a constant drain on people asking him questions, customers wanting to deal with just him, people getting frustrated, waiting on him for answers because he was just one person. And at one point we had 50 people. We had office staff, but we always had more technicians than we had administrative staff. So here's what I wanted to tell you about. So one of the things that you can do with AI, right, is you can build a kind of like a custom knowledge hub for your company. And I'm not involved with that business anymore, and I don't have that business anymore. But if I did, this is exactly what I would be doing. So you can build yourself a knowledge hub. You can take every piece of data from your company, every PDF, every process, every procedure, every single way of doing things. You probably have processes and they're probably scattered all over the place. You've probably got, some things that happen in the field. Some people do things differently. Some people, consistency is just not there. And that scatteredness can actually be all pulled together now with AI. You can build an AI that will know the answer to every question in your company. So my concept for this is called Knowledge Hub AI, right? So we'll just call it that for the sake of it. So let's just say we have Knowledge Hub AI and we get it. How long would you have to think about it? It would take some time, right? To build that on all your company knowledge. But once you had it, you basically could have something, or I'm filming on my phone, but on your phone, everybody can have it downloaded and it could be at the office computer. It could be updated frequently and tweaked, monthly. But basically somebody could pick it up just like a chat GPT and ask it a question. What's the company policy for time off in my first 6 months? Or what's the company policy for some type of safety rule? Let's say you have, we used to use chain falls a lot because we did rigging. What policy for the chain falls? What are they? What's the maximum capacity for XYZ project? If you're technical, gosh, don't listen. But, just the things that are the standardized things that happen within the company day in and day out, whether that be on jobs, whether that be prepping for a job. Like we had procedures for prepping for jobs. We used to use clipboards and we'd have a printout and you'd go grab it. And then, you'd have your checklist for your job and you'd get everything ready. But you could actually have all of this within Knowledge Hub. Somebody could say, hey, I've got this type of job. I need to get ready for it. Give me a checklist of everything that I need. And then they could go get that stuff from the shop. I need to do a safety check. Walk me through what I need to do on the job site for this type of safety check. And it could just, it could give you all the information and you could even communicate with it verbally, right? Just like we do with ChatGPT, we can talk to it. So you would have a kind of like a buddy for the whole entire company that would be its brain. This would really excite me. But you should be excited too, because if you own a business where you're still to this day, 10 years later, being asked questions about things, what you can do is take all those questions, all those answers, and just brain dump them and then get them into a Knowledge Hub. And now you have a brain for your company that is not you, the owner. And there are a couple of other things that are really good about this. So think about yourself 10 years from now. So you've built the company, AI is here, you put some AI things in place, but a business that isn't owner dependent is more valuable. So 10 more years from now, when you've kept up with the trends and you've put these things in place and you have this knowledge brain that any new hire can go to. They're in their first 90 days because you can even compartmentalize it, right? So you'll have your HR knowledge hub. It's all going to be one hub. HR knowledge. You can have accounting knowledge. You can have bookkeeping knowledge. You can have SOPs for every single role in the company. You can have management knowledge, disciplinary action knowledge. Of course, you're still going to have people. You're still going to have an HR, head of HR. You're still going to have a bookkeeper. You're still going to have an accountant. You're still going to have general counsel if you use lawyers. But you're not going to have so many layers of people because the information is going to be available. Now, someone's going to have to check. It's just like if you have, so in our service business, we used to have safety inspections, and those had to be done every single week. And I will tell you, we would assign somebody to the role. Okay, so each week, let's say it was Joe's turn to do the safety checks, and then the next week it was Sam, and we had a roster. But I'm telling you, if a manager didn't go behind and check that those safety checks were being done, they're not going to be done. So you're still going to have checks and balances. And, maybe we will get to a point where the AI will be able to do those checks for us and, double check some of the data and what's happening inside of the knowledge hub. But for now, managers, don't worry, if don't push back on this, because these could be great tools for you. So this is something that does exist and can be built for you. And I am very excited about the small business owners, because in some of the work that I do, some of it, it's consulting now. So I have done valuations for businesses. I have spoken with business owners about their businesses because they've been wanting to sell them. So I get to see and hear what the problems are. And I would say 90% of small businesses don't have proper processes in place. And what this does is it does affect the future value of your business, right? Because somebody coming in to buy your business is going to want those processes. And if you have this tool in place, I mean, not only is it going to be less frustrating for your employees, because it's hard, right? When they want to speak to you or they want to ask you a question, they want to answer to something. And, you gave them a handbook 2 years ago. This used to happen a lot too. And people would ask me a question. I'd say, well, it's in the handbook. And they never read it. And I believe that we checked that they read it, but there wasn't a quiz. But you could even do something like that, right? To make sure that somebody actually read a document. There could be checkpoints where they actually have to pass a quiz, or otherwise they have to go back and take it again. Your safety training could be in there. I mean, I think it's endless with a knowledge hub. This is one thing that I am super excited about. So if you would, sorry, there was something on my screen. If you want some more information on this, there's going to be a link down below. I run weekly AI workshops. They're trainings. They're just free workshops you can come to, where we talk about things like this in more detail. And you can also book a call with me if you'd like to learn a bit more about this. But I wanted to talk to you about this topic because just in a conversational way, because it's something that I'm really excited about. So I'll be doing more posts about this. And I think that we should, another thing is we should get building these. You should custom build these for your business. There will be subscriptions. And I did do some research today. So there are subscriptions where you can sign up, you can pay a monthly fee, and then you can enter your knowledge in there and they'll hold it on that platform. But the problem with that is you don't own that. They do. So I looked at some of the cancellations, and let's say if you go with a subscription model and they set up this knowledge hub for you. Well, if you cancel your subscription, they will give you back your knowledge. They'll give you back everything. I think you have like 90 days to get it back. But the beauty of owning your own is that it's going to be part of your company. It's going to be a digital brain that you can just keep updating and tweaking and adding to. And I mean, how great would it be to not have to be so concerned with onboarding? And maybe you're not doing proper onboarding, and that's why you have turnover, or that's why employees are secretly a little frustrated. I mean, you could even use it to get feedback from employees and, kind of depersonalize that as the owner, because I know it can be frustrating sometimes when employees are complaining. But there's so much that you can do. And I think every small business now should be thinking about this, getting a central knowledge hub. And that's what I wanted to talk to you about today. So do join me for a weekly webinar if that's something that's of interest to you. And you can always book a call and talk to me, because I do offer consulting services.